Welcome back to TPS. Every year we see NFL teams commit expensive free agent signings and big-time trades that backfire mightily. But the 2019 NFL season was something else. What more can we say? Here are 12 marquee offseason moves via trades or free agency that failed miserably. At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video. Number 12, Colts signed DEVIN FUNCHESS. Coming off of an AFC wildcard berth, GM Chris Ballard, who had a strong offseason, landed standout wide receiver DEVIN FUNCHESS on a one-year deal worth $10 million, though it had a max value of $13 million. This deal took place before Andrew Luck made a shocking retirement announcement, but the Colts still hoped that he could work nicely with Jacoby Brissett. Unfortunately, he suffered a collarbone injury in Week 1 against the Los Angeles Chargers, and he didn't return for the season. DEVIN had 3 catches for 32 yards in his lone 2019 outing. The Colts' passing offense often struggled without Luck too, and they wound up missing the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years. There's a lot of work to be done on that offense, and it's unlikely that DEVIN will be with Indianapolis again in 2020. 11. Jets signed CJ Mosley for $85 million. The New York Jets were one of the busiest teams in the 2019 offseason, as GM Mike Maccagnan tried to piece together a playoff club before he was fired. The priciest signing was 4-time Pro Bowler CJ Mosley, who inked a massive 5-year deal worth $85 million. It was far too much cash for an inside linebacker, but if Mosley could produce, the deal would be somewhat justified. Unfortunately, the former Baltimore Ravens star was hampered by a groin injury, and he was limited to just 2 games before requiring season-ending surgery. To his credit, Mosley played well in those 2 games, recording 9 tackles, 2 passes defended, and 1 interception. But the fact that he only played 2 contests was enough for this signing to be considered a disappointment. The good news is that Mosley still has lots of time to prove himself worthy of the contract. It just wasn't going to happen in 2019. Number 10, Dolphins trade for Josh Rosen. The Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen 10th overall in 2018, but after securing the number 1 pick in 2019, they decided that it was impossible to pass up on Kyler Murray. So they wound up taking the dual threat signal caller with the first selection, and Rosen was sent to the Miami Dolphins for 2nd and 5th round selections. This trade took place before Miami seemingly decided they were going to tank. Rosen saw little action throughout the year and performed poorly when called upon, while career journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick was used as the main starter instead. The Dolphins will surely draft a new franchise quarterback in 2020, meaning they give up a 2nd-round pick to get only a few starts out of Rosen. Realistically, this rebuilding Miami club could have been better off keeping these 2 draft picks they gave up to Arizona. But hey, the Dolphins won't complain about how things played out as long as they find their next franchise quarterback in the draft. Number 9, Broncos snag Joe Flacco from Ravens. The Super Bowl MVP and champion lost his starting job in Baltimore to some guy named Lamar Jackson in the midst of the 2018 season. Flacco was then traded to the Denver Broncos for a 4th-round pick in the 2019 offseason. Surprise, surprise, John Elway failed once again in replacing Peyton Manning. Flacco lost 6 of 8 starts and had just 6 touchdowns against 5 interceptions while taking 26 sacks. Youngsters Brandon Allen and Drew Lock looked far better than Flacco did at any point of the season, period. Remember when Elway said that Flacco and Lock were like having Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers? With all due respect to Flacco, his time as a starter is long gone. The Broncos should have just put Allen or Lock in there from Week 1 in order to help their growth and development. Number 8, Eagles bring back DeSean Jackson. The Eagles entered the 2019 season as a prime favorite to win the Super Bowl, and for good reason. They were only 2 years removed from hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, and Howie Roseman added a plethora of new weapons to an already high-flying offense. He brought back speedy wideout DeSean Jackson via trade with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, along with a 2020 7th-round draft selection for nothing more than a 2019 6th-round pick. With Jordan Howard and rookie wideout J.J. Arcega-Whiteside joining the offense, along with D-Jax, expectations were sky-high in Philly. But Jackson was limited to just 3 games in 2019 as he was forced to undergo season-ending surgery on a core muscle. He finished with 9 receptions for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns in those 3 contests. Carson Wentz and the Eagles offense struggled mightily throughout the year, and a healthy and effective Jackson could have changed everything. Number 7, Lions signed Trey Flowers. The Detroit Lions have tried harder than just about any other team to implement the New England Patriots winning culture. It started with the hiring of Bob Quinn as GM, then Matt Patricia came on as head coach in 2018. Then they added former Patriots Danny Amendola and Trey Flowers in free agency. While Danny was a cheap one-year rental, Flowers was one of the priciest free agent signings in history. The Lions gave him a whopping 5-year deal worth $90 million, believing a reunion with Patricia would help Flowers continue to dominate as a pass rusher. Thing is, Flowers' numbers are on par with what he posted in New England, where he won 2 Super Bowls. But with a $90 million price tag, the Lions were probably hoping for better numbers compared to what he did in Foxborough. Flowers wasn't terrible by any means, but he didn't change the Lions' defense the way they had hoped. It was one of the NFL's worst throughout the entire year, even with Flowers anchoring the defensive line. You can't just throw $90 million at a guy and somehow see your defense go from solid to awful. The Lions may be feeling buyer's remorse already. Number 6, Giants bring in Golden Tate. This signing made no sense at the time, and it still doesn't make sense to us. When the Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cleveland Browns, it was supposed to signal the beginning of a rebuild. Then GM Dave Gettleman signed veteran wideout Golden Tate to a 4-year deal worth $37.5 million, which suggested that they weren't actually trying to rebuild after all. Tate's 2019 season started out on a disastrous note. He was hit with a 4-game suspension for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. Though Tate provided some big plays for the Giants, he doesn't look anything like the explosive playmaker we previously saw with the Lions and Seahawks. The Giants could have found a younger and cheaper comparable on the open market. Why throw big dollars on an aging wideout like Tate and trade away a young superstar like OBJ? As it turns out, trying to replace a young superstar in his prime with an older and less explosive player isn't so smart. Number 5, Raiders acquire Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown clashed with Ben Roethlisberger and his other Steelers teammates and coaches near the end of the 2018 season. After missing their Week 17 game, Brown requested a trade, and Pittsburgh had to settle on the low return that included 3rd and 5th round picks from the Oakland Raiders. John Gruden had pulled off a coup for the ages, while the Steelers looked like big-time losers for losing a generational talent with little to show for it. But as it turns out, AB's tenure in Oakland was a train wreck from day one. He suffered frostbite while he was in the cryotherapy chamber. He threatened to retire because the NFL banned his preferred helmet design. Brown confronted GM Mike Mayock during a practice because the former was infuriated after being fined over missed practices. Brown then leaked the audio of a phone call with Coach Gruden, which is a big no-no. His behavior got so out of control that Oakland gave up and released Brown before the season, which meant they essentially got nothing more than a 1-month headache in return for the draft picks they surrendered. Brown was picked up by the Patriots shortly after his release, but he was cut after just 1 game following accusations of sexual assault. What a sad fall from grace it's been for Brown. What more can we say? Number 4, Jets signed Le'Veon Bell. The former Steelers superstar running back opted to sit out the entire 2018 season, hoping to cash in on a giant payday in 2019 free agency. But when all was said and done, Bell had to settle on a 4-year deal worth $52.5 million with the New York Jets. It didn't help that new head coach Adam Gase reportedly disliked McGagnon's idea of paying so much money for a running back. Things already grew awkward between Bell and his new team and coach. Classic Jets. 2019 marked the least productive season of Bell's career, excluding the 2015 campaign, in which he was limited to 6 games. Bell was nowhere close to the elite Pro Bowl talent we saw in Pittsburgh. His rushing yards, rushing TDs, and yards per carry dipped significantly, though he at least remained a steady performer in the passing game. Still, Bell didn't do much to fix a Jets offense that was supposed to see improvement with him. Gase and Jamison Crowder joining second-year QB Sam Darnold. What a colossal disappointment of a season it was for Jets fans. Bell should probably just taken the $70 million offer he got from the Steelers in the 2018 offseason, huh? Number 3, Redskins signed Landon Collins. The 2019 free agent market was loaded with stud safeties: Tyrann Mathieu, LaMarcus Joyner, Eric Weddle, Earl Thomas, HaHa Clinton-Dix, and Adrian Amos, among others. And yet, it was former Giants Pro Bowler Landon Collins who took home the biggest contract out of that group. The Washington Redskins signed Collins to a 6-year deal worth a whopping $84 million, overpaid much. Collins endured perhaps the least productive season of his career. He didn't do much to help improve the Redskins secondary. The entire 2019 season was a disaster for Washington, so Collins can't warrant much of the blame. How Bruce Allen remains in charge of Washington's front office is really beyond us, and how Dan Snyder willingly signed this $84 million check is a mystery. But hey, moves like this are why the Redskins haven't won much under Snyder's ownership. Number 2, Jaguars signed Nick Foles. Jacksonville went from 2017 AFC runner-up to dead last in the AFC South in 2018. A team was convinced that the quarterback upgrade was the key move that would bring them back into championship contention. So they released Blake Bortles and signed Super Bowl 52 MVP Nick Foles to a 4-year deal worth $88 million. But Foles suffered a broken collarbone in Week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs, and rookie 6th-round pick Gardner Minshew performed nicely in his absence. Foles returned in Week 11 and started each of the next 3 games, but he struggled with 2 touchdowns, a pair of interceptions, and 2 fumbles lost during those 3 contests. The Jaguars opted to go back to Minshew during their Week 14 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now the front office has a dilemma. They have no easy way out of Foles' contract for 2020, so they'll likely just have to pay a ton of money for him to just sit on the bench and watch Minshew mania. Oh, and the Jaguars executive vice president Tom Coughlin was fired after Week 15. He probably shouldn't have given Foles all that money before he left. And number 1, Odell Beckham Jr. trade. The Cleveland Browns finished 7-8-1 in 2018, and GM John Dorsey, like many of us, believed his team was ready to take off in 2019. So he swung a blockbuster deal for the ages, acquiring Giants Pro Bowl wideout Odell Beckham Jr. and veteran pass rusher Olivier Vernon in exchange for their 1st and 3rd round picks, safety Jabril Peppers, and guard Kevin Zeitler. With Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Baker Mayfield leading the offense, the Browns were supposed to be a playoff team in 2019. Some even believe they could win the Super Bowl. But the Browns were once again a complete mess in 2019. First-year head coach Freddie Kitchens had no idea how to handle a team full of big personalities and egos. He couldn't get any of them under control, and the Browns kept taking stupid penalties throughout the season. Beckham also had by far the most disappointing season of his career, and reporters surfaced that he wanted out of Cleveland. Of course, it's not Beckham's fault that Mayfield was hit hard by the sophomore slump, or that the Browns' offensive line was an absolute mess from day one. Vernon didn't do much to bolster the Browns' pass rush either. Don't forget that the defense was also supposed to be taking major leaps. Beckham, Landry, and Mayfield were supposed to take Cleveland to new heights in 2019, but we forgot these magical 3 words before the season. Classic Cleveland Browns. They'll just have to try again in 2020. What other NFL offseason blockbuster moves failed miserably in 2019? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.